my question to you guys is, who are you right now? Like, are you guys a designer, creative director, art director, illustrator? And are you going to be a designer, art director, illustrator, creative director when you're 60? Who knows? And I think the most important question is, who speaks for you? When you're tweeting at 3 a.m. after drinking, who is talking, who's tweeting for you? You know, like if you're like going out for a techno party, who is saying, go for it, it's 12 a.m., it's totally okay, you don't need to work tomorrow? Who is speaking for you? These are all questions that we ask ourselves. But I think as creatives especially, at this time of my career, like 9 years in and doing a lot of different creative jobs and talking to a ton of creatives and non-creatives that are 9, 10 years into this, we ask a lot of these questions. Who am I? Like, what's my taste anymore? What do I even like anymore? And the biggest question is, why am I doing this? And I think that's something I'm addressing because when I was asked to do this talk, I just got out of this thought, like self-analysis of myself, like why am I doing any of this? And that's a really real question. But let's start from the beginning, back in the day. So I was born in China, grew up with my grandparents. My parents were in Portland, Oregon, going to school. And my grandparents are pretty crazy. They did not want me to look at any art, any kid books or anything like that. They wanted me to just focus on science and math and literature. So I was deprived of anything any kid and adult really wanted, was just a view of just creative expression that's not so real. So when I moved to America at age of 7, there was so much, Sunday morning cartoons, Ren and Stimpy, Simpsons, like everything, comics. It was just everywhere, and this is the time when I didn't speak English. So what I did was I drew. I was so happy to just be able to have all this amazing, creative, artistic things around me that I was exposed to, and I drew everything. So if I made a friend, I drew it. If my friend got mad at me, I drew it. I drew a book about 10,000 cats in Hawaii. For no reason, it was like a book about my classmates in Hawaii, and we're just hanging out with cats. It made no sense. I think I drew because, honestly, it was my way to communicate and connect to others, especially when I was learning a new language, especially because I had a lot of questions about a new culture in general. So drawing was my art therapy. And I think, I think that's the case with everybody at a certain point. Everybody just wanted to draw, or at least for me, it was a way for me to express myself. And then adulthood. Yes. This is actually images that when I was a kid, I thought I would become, is being an adult at a leadership conference. You know what I mean? Kind of similar to this one. And honestly, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think what I really wanted was security, honestly, because when I was a kid, I had the insecurity of, being immigrant family. And top of that, I was in Portland, Oregon, where it's very homogenous, so nobody was like me. So I was insecure in that way. And my parents, were students, so we didn't have that much money. So what I really wanted when I grow up is to be secure, to be successful, whatever that means in the creative field. It's is it to be a user experience designer? Is it to be a product designer? Is it to be in advertising? I was driven by security. And as you can see, this is so embarrassing. I can't believe I'm showing everybody my email from 2009. But I applied to every single job out there out of just need to be secure. Ed Hardy artist, what? Copy and pasted all my resumes and portfolios because I wanted to, find myself in that way. But honestly, because I was so hungry to try all these things out, I did try everything. I went into advertising, I went into digital products, I went into branding, I went and tried everything. But this entire time that was happening, I also tried a ton of different styles of art. I was drawing on the side. That's something I've always loved and enjoyed doing. So, and this is also embarrassing because I'm showcasing my progress. There's a time when I was emanating a lot of artists out there that I really looked up to. And also aesthetically, speaking, there's a lot of aesthetics out there that I thought would garner success in some ways to be an artist. But I honed the crap out of my work. So basically, it was when I found something specific that I really, really liked, and I said, this speaks to me, I honed and focused the crap out of it. And yeah, some of this work, actually the left poster is from an AIGA poster in Chicago, 2012, so round circle here. And because of that, actually, because of just really focusing on my work, I was able to start to freelance and work with a lot of really awesome clients out there. So in the past few years, since becoming a full-time artist and quitting my daytime job, which took a really long time to get there, I was able to do a lot of really fun work. So this was a mural, a self-portraiture I created for a woman mural art in East Village, hosted by Absolute and Tigtail. That was kind of my way of talking about self-portraiture in this day and age. I created a drawing for Adidas for a women's running marathon in Griffith Park. Next. Oh, okay. Some bike cyclist shirts and outfits I created for a company in Portland called Manual for Speed. A mural, I was able to paint a mural over the summer in Portland. It was part of Forest for the Trees, it was a nonprofit mural organization. Samsung, I was able to create work for Samsung devoting their Galaxy 8 Note, and it was displayed all over Times Square, which is really crazy to see. And a volleyball court, so it's kind of crazy how, sometimes when you create something, it can expand into an entire environment. But anyway, I feel like these projects, looking at them now, I'm like really excited about everything I've done, but little did everybody know, and everybody in the peripheral know that in the last year, I was super uninspired, and this is what this drawing is. It's called Uninspired. I was really jaded. It wasn't that I didn't love my work, I just didn't feel myself from my work anymore. As much as I was creating a lot of fun stuff from other clients and collaborating, there's just something that totally disappeared from that love that I had when I was 8 years old drawing cats in Hawaii. And actually, while I was going through that, I drew a lot of uninspired things, so I took a lot of inspiration from that. And I was thinking about why I was so jaded and why did I not appreciate what was happening and didn't feel inspired. But I think it's really normal for everyone to be jaded. I think even if you haven't felt that way before, you probably will. Even if you already felt this way before, you probably will again. It's a very real thing for creatives to go through. I mean, especially with everything that's happening in the world, politically, there's gun violence, there's just so much stuff happening at the same time. On top of that, with social media exposing highlights of everyone's lives and a lot of creatives showcasing their best work, it's really easy to lose yourself in that. There's one of my favorites, Have a Day. So basically, these are things that I think was a really real thing. I really wanted to get over it. And honestly, I was thinking about how I came out of this process, actually. And there's this game back in PlayStation 2. I mean, I haven't played it for a while, but it's called Katamari Damacy. I'm not even saying it right. Yes, okay. But anyway, you're a little guy, you're rolling this ball. So what happens is you're rolling this ball, and your aim of the game is to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So you have a goal for a round, and it gets bigger, and then you win to the next round. So then the first round, you start rolling this ball, you get thumbtacks and plants and cats and dogs, and then soon you roll it bigger and bigger and it becomes people, and you can roll lampshades, you can lamp cities, and soon it's buildings. So I really think that, in a way to visualize us as creatives, at first, you're starting out, you're rolling this ball, whatever ball you guys are rolling, you're thinking, okay, I'm gonna try out and I'm gonna roll this thumbtack in there. Okay, I'm gonna try and roll this rose in there. Just kind of pile it up to see and feel how it feels. And once you get to a certain size, you're okay, I'm gonna keep on going bigger and bigger and better. And then at the same time, there's all this other stuff sticking to your ball, people saying, oh, that doesn't look good enough, or people saying, you should probably do that kind of thing, or people saying, oh, look at this person, they won this award, maybe you should think about that kind of, aesthetic or whatever you're working on. And you totally lose yourself. You lose that little guy that's rolling the ball to begin with. And you forget to focus on the beginning. So anyway, I feel like that is a really good way for me to visualize my struggle as a creative as well. So here are some things that really help me get through feeling jaded and feeling uninspired. And I think, and hopefully this can help you guys as well when you guys need it. I visualized and personified my inner voices. I think for me, it's so important for me to visualize situations and problems. So for example, my partner and I, when we fight, I'll be like, hey, Colin, can you make like an image of what you're talking about and visualize that for me? So he'll be like, okay, well, we're 2 pots of plants, and your plant is getting really big and stretching over to my plant. And I feel like when you have that visual language, it sometimes speaks better than, louder than words, and it makes more sense to me as a visual person, because sometimes, honestly, words are jokes. Anyway, so for me, I was able to take that concept and visualize all, the inner voices I was, that was speaking to me, whether it's ego or my inner child. And I was able to compartmentalize when things made me feel inadequate or things made me feel good or bad, which part of it was speaking to. And by being able to visualize that, I was able to identify every time I wanted to, do something new, or when I'm too scared, where that part of me is speaking and reflecting to the most. And also visualizing your voice and all the voices inside you, think of them as your children, in some ways. Sometimes you might be tending to your ego a little bit too much. And maybe you need to realize, oh, maybe this ego is getting too much TLC. That's not a bad thing, but you should probably shift that focus to humility or shift that focus to your inner child. And so by doing that, actually, I was able to really become compassionate with myself. I think being kind to yourself is it's a thing that none of us have learned how to do. There's so much noise going on what you should project, externally, but how about thinking about all the bad stuff or good stuff inside and just being compassionate? And when I became kind and compassionate to myself, I realized that I was kind of beating myself up because I wanted to be the best. I needed to be the best artist at this show, or I needed to do the best work for this client. And honestly, that is such a subjective best. It doesn't exist. It's very, very hard to get to. So instead of being the best, I need to do my best. And I think shifting that mentality in how I work, and also just how I enjoy doing my work, has really helped me in just letting it go and enjoy the process a lot. And those 2 things I just showed you, it took so long to fully understand, because the next step it got to for me was I started to find a safe space with other people. I think I was able to find that safe space with myself because I was so compassionate. I became compassionate with everything I was thinking and feeling inside. And being able to find a safe space and trust myself, I was able to trust others around me, and being able to open a dialogue with friends or colleagues about struggles I'm going through, or even just successes we're going through, without any sort of judgment. And I think that is so important, because with that, you learn to grow, and not just within, but with your community as well. And since I find that safe space, I was able to come out of my comfort zone too. I think right now a lot of creatives are stuck in a comfort bubble where we're just kind of regurgitating the same thoughts over and over again. And I think it's so important to be able to step out of that comfort zone where you are having that conversation with the same types of people and gain a new perspective. Because honestly, other people's perspectives really help me, at least, gain appreciation for not just people, but myself as well. It kind of goes in circle, and honestly, that appreciation that I felt for myself was the only, one of the main vital things that really drove me out of me feeling uninspired. I appreciate this opportunity here. I appreciate my able body. I appreciate the ability for me to be able to visualize and dictate all my feelings, the emotions. And I think that's one of the most profound things I've learned. It's easy to say, but it takes so long to really get there. And finding that appreciation helped me really identify my umbrella goal. And I think right now I'm seeking for an overarching goal, like a goal that can speak to me for years to come, not something like, oh, I want to work for this client or that client, but a goal that's saying, Shawna, it's okay when you're 80 years old, this is a overall place that you want to be. So for me right now, I really want to be able to continuously make work that is relevant for both me and my community, and also always step back into my safe space whenever I need it. So this is my safe space. I like to visualize a lot of stuff, and I was able to identify what that piece, that little world, that sacred space for me looks like. And honestly, I'm so happy I found it because I know it's not permanent. I know it's always there, but I also know that in a couple years or even a couple weeks, I could easily step out of it. But knowing that it's there is so important. So I know this talk is about finding my voice and my art in my world, but honestly, truth to be told, next week I completely lose that voice. So I think the whole point is this keynote has been really helpful for me. So every time I forget it, I will come back right into it. Anyway, thank you.
So getting out of this period of being jaded, how did the work immediately begin to change, or did it take a while to work itself out? Like how did it function for you, and did you see it in the work itself?
I just love visualizing everything. So I think when I was jaded, I was still forcing myself to draw all my uninspired things. So for example, some of the pictures I showed up, the bland food, like the TV screen not working, like someone's face just bleed. A lot of negative emotions, I like to portray that as well. So
Sure.
I definitely saw a change in the stuff I was portraying, like the message I was giving out.
Right.
So.
And if you have micro moments of feeling jaded at a moment dealing with somebody or a client or a thing that isn't working, is there a way to work through this that's sort of a shorthand now that you have your peaceful place?
Actually, yeah, definitely. I think for me, that peaceful place is mostly for my personal work, because I'm able to compartmentalize now that I'm able to separate the voices that everything is speaking to. So for clients, for instance, a lot of times I'm able to say, this helps me to get to my goal that's personal, so I want to be able to help you too, but able to compartmentalize that aspect and not become very emotional about it as I am with my own personal work.
I mean, how did they come to you for your personal work? How much can you translate what you personally enjoy to what your clients want? See,
I think that's why I became kind of jaded, because a lot of my personal work has become, the aesthetic and the whole feel and look of everything has now become a thing that a lot of clients come to me for.
Right.
So that's why I feel having that safe space for yourself for your work is really important. But sometimes for the clients, when I do get to that stage, I think having a lot of transparency with the client really helps. For me, at least, I can tell them hey, I am not feeling inspired, or I am not getting a move on. Do you have any sort of pieces of inspiration or information you can give me to, progress me forward?
Do you like it that they want your personal aesthetic, or do you wish it sometimes was something separate so it didn't interact with the things you did for your personal self?
I actually like it because it tells me that I need to just work on more things with my personal work.
Right. So it moves your personal work away from your...
Yes, exactly. Because once that work becomes super commercialized. You see everywhere, and then it becomes a trend, which is kind of sad. That's kind of how it goes a lot of times when something is done and it's never been seen before, and people take it and they turn it into a mainstream situation, and then everyone does it and everyone has the same type of work. But it really compels me to push my work in a different direction.
That's really good that you think of your personal work as the thing that moves you forward in that way.
Yeah, definitely.
Can I ask you about your nails?
Yes.
Can we get a close-up of
yes.
They're really lovely.
Can you see them?
Where did you get your nails done?
So, this is funny. There's an anecdote behind here. So I live in Brooklyn, and across the street there's this nail salon, just really regular Chinese nail spot. And usually people go for just regular manicures, nothing crazy. But I went in there one day and I was like, okay, give me 3 colors and do something crazy with it. And then the lady was like, I don't know what to do, I'm kind of scared. And so I took out a napkin, I was like, why don't you draw this shape or that shape? And she started like going in for it. And that was the first time I went to her. And now, like I went back to her for this set of nails last week, and I was like, okay, I want you, Cherry. Just do whatever you want.
I want you, Cherry.
I want you, Cherry. And she went crazy. Like, I don't know if you can see, like, from my pinky, that's when it started, to my thumb, is like, wow, you are going for it.
Yeah.
So I think having the ability to just open up to people and say, hey, I trust that you can do a good job, was a really great learning experience, even at a nail salon. So, yeah.
I mean, at first you must have freaked her out, but then you kind of made her day.
Yeah, she was like, I love this, this is so fun. I'm like, okay, great. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like you were a good client, the type of client
I
you would
hope
like
so.
to be hired to hire you.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's kind of nice to have that ability to trust.
Yeah, definitely.
To give it to somebody. It's like generous to give
yeah,
it to people.
and realizing like nails, and if you can apply it to life in general, like it's not that serious, you know? Like these nails are gonna come off in like a month.
Right.
So it's totally okay, and just trying to apply that to other aspects of my life has helped me be really open to others as well.
Yeah.
It's really helpful.
And you sort of were able to sort of, give a little bit of the creative stuff that you get in your life and fulfillment to someone who's outside of a design bubble.
Yeah.
And there was an interplay there that was really significant. I mean, can you talk about like, how do you focus on trying to get out of a bubble like that so that your work doesn't become too, hermetically sealed inside of one world?
Yeah, I think for me, I think I just really enjoy talking to people in general, and I think that's an innate ability I got from my mother, and sometimes it's harder for other people because it depends on your upbringing and your experience as well. So for me, I luckily have that skill set to just talk to people and see and like be open to them, and in turn they're open to me. And I think because of that, I have the ability to get outside of my comfort bubble of like the design community as well.
So from 0 to 7, when science and math was drilled into you as the only thing that had value.
Yeah.
This was similar to my upbringing as well. Did you take any part of that into your work? Because the way that you're driven to be the best and all this sort of thing does strike me as that type of mentality.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it too. So that's why, I mean, for a while I was really mad about how much I wanted to be the best. Like I was really angry about my ego. But I realized after just going through all the process of shedding all the stuff in my sticky ball, metaphorically, that I think it's really important to, accept that about yourself and just see who you're tending more to. So I think what my grandparents did was they were super crazy about like, you have to be #1 in your class, you have to be #1 and test 100% on everything. They're pretty crazy about that. But then because of that, it drove me to always push my styles and my aesthetic, and I think that's how I found my style and aesthetic that you guys all know me for. So I do appreciate that aspect of it.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Shawna X, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.